So like this is
cool.
the opening screen. It's like what you'll see like the video for the opening. It's just these.
Sweet.
And then just one button, boop, and there we are.
That's super cool.
Right.
It's pro. I love it.
So hello everyone, thank you for tuning in for the second episode of Tier Listing, where we're going to talk about a discography from a different band, and I have a different guest on each episode. With me today to talk about Nine Inch Nails is a special friend who is also a very big Nine Inch Nails fan, pushing up Roses. Say hello, Roses.
Hey everyone. Hi, Luke.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. For everyone who's aware, or not aware, I should say, Roses has a great channel on YouTube talking about many retro things from TV shows, movies, video games, you name it. Lots of great stuff. If you click on the YouTube card, you can check out a recent episode of Clarissa Explains It All and how much of an impact it had on us in the 90s when kids shows were good, but not over-the-top insanity or just mind-numbing.
But not great.
And not mind-numbingly stupid, but they still had stuff to offer. They were entertainment, and it was fun and harmless and relatable. If that relatable, I think, is a good way to put it too. It's not the not the Hallmark schlock that is not relatable. Oh, that's exactly what it is too on Hallmark.
That's what it is. And I say that in the video. I'm like, look, you guys can argue against my points all you want, but do you remember television in the 90s? Like, do you actually remember it?
Yeah.
Because it's not good.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like talking about music so much, is because I feel like music has been evolving for a longer time. For those who don't know, music is like my number one passion. That's not what my channel's about, but it's like that's what means everything to me. So I'm glad that I can be on your podcast and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Because like music in the 90s was ever evolving. So when I talk about like a show in the 90s, I can't believe that it's so far back. You know what I mean? It feels like we were continually trying to find the right formula for kids' TV.
This is a good segue into this. I remember, like, because you were talking about on the video for Clarissa Explains It All, they would mention real bands like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and stuff like that. I remember shows as a kid watching the WB growing up, which shows how far back, I go, with stuff like that, mentioning Nine Inch Nails and stuff like that in like 95 or so. So like in the 90s, you would have that real culture. Big names would be in actual TV shows and film and stuff like that. It's not it's necessarily the same anymore with television and things like that.
No, not at all. And it's interesting. The show came out in 91. It debuted in 91. And Clarissa name drops They Might Be Giants in the first 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
And it just gives you a sense of like, oh, music means a lot. She has posters and goes to a Pearl Jam concert. And I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to seeing a teenage girl do that, even though I grew up in the 90s.
Especially on Nickelodeon, too.
That's a good point. Yeah. I feel like Nickelodeon was a little more... I don't know if
Nickelodeon was more self-contained. They lived in their own little universe. They didn't like latch out to out external stuff, but that's just besides the point. Not saying that Clarissa should have promoted Nine Inch Nails in 91.
Maybe a little too far.
That would have gotten some letters. So we're going to go in chronological order for the major release albums. Here's the thing. We are not going to cover all of the EPs. There are many of them, and while I do think some of them are amazing, I do not want this video to be 90 minutes long. Sorry.
Yeah, me either.
No. So few people would watch that all the way through, and it would just tank my analytics. I love Nine Inch Nails. I love all the many EPs they've done, like Broken and Fixed and stuff like that. Guys, we just want to stick to the studio LPs. There's still tons to work with. Let's go back to 1989. Who feels old right now?
Yes, me.
I mean, we were both very young at the time, but let's be honest. When you talk about Pretty Hate Machine, no one thinks it was that old.
No, no one does.
It's like them and Faith No More, 89, and no one really puts that together. They were that far ahead of their time, in my opinion, with those releases, and that's what Pretty Hate Machine was. I mean, I
still can't grasp it. I can't grasp that, and I know because I listen to Pretty Hate Machine more than I think any other Nine Inch Nails album, and I can't grasp. Do people know what was happening in 89? New Kids on the Block, same year.
Oh my god. Man, those are oh my gosh. So the fancy like 89 household in the suburbs, the daughter's room, New Kids on the Block poster, Billy's room, not Trent Reznor poster. Same house, and that's how it was. Because again, the grunge was not a deal back then. At that time,
No.
not even, no one really even, if it was around, like bands like Soundgarden, no, it was not a buzz. It was just there.
Right.
Nine
it was
Inch-
still like evolving in Seattle.
Yes.
It wasn't there yet.
It wasn't a phenomenon. Nine Inch
Yeah.
Nails came out and kicked the door down, and it was something completely different.
Yeah. It still sounds different to me now, listening to the tracks in order.
Yeah. I've
I've never heard anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, when you go like the first, it's that 1-2-3 punch, I guess, instead of a 1-2 punch. It's Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Down in It. You know, when you go through those, like, oh my gosh, these songs were just so iconic of Nine Inch Nails, but they go that far back, over 20 years,
Yeah.
30 years.
And I think,
over 30 years.
Yeah, over 30 years,
Yeah.
31 years. And Sin is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
There's something really brooding about that song. And when I discovered that song, I had not heard anything like that.
Right.
You know, something so raw. And I'm a big fan of brooding music. I don't want to say it's depressing, but it's angsty, I suppose.
With Nine Inch Nails, and especially with Trent Reznor's like production and how he makes it, it's somewhat calming in the right song, with the specific songs in the right tone. He makes it almost relaxing with the way he does it, and that's a very fine line to try to walk on, and he does it beautifully throughout his career in different occasions. So
Yeah.
this was unfiltered, gritty, no apologies, wild, and admittedly drug-fueled Trent Reznor in '89.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is it's very even though it's very gritty, it's it's polished. It's well put together.
is,
Everything
yes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it's poorly presented. It's not like a fevery haze or anything. No, the
Right.
actual design of the product is amazing. It's just behind the scenes, Trent Reznor was living that rock star life very early.
Yes.
And 80s rock star life is way different than 2020 rock star life when people are
Agreed.
clean and working. Like backstage in 2020 rock shows, it really was alcohol, women, drugs on every table. It was just the endless party, you know. So
yeah, especially coming out of the 80s, like
yeah.
it was rough.
Yeah, and then like hair metal and like big bands like that leading the way, but then you have Nine Inch Nails, something way different. So all I know is I can't say Pretty Hate Machine should go in anything but gold.
Yep, it's gold for me.
I mean,
I think
yeah.
it's one of the best albums ever. Just ever. I love that album.
I know. It's so iconic for the band, and when you really think about it, it's one of the most iconic album of the 80s. Many people would say no, only because they're not aware this was 80s music.
Right.
And that's what's crazy, because when you say, what are some of the best like rock or metal albums of the 80s, they'll say stuff from the Big Four, they'll do hair metal bands, Guns N' Roses, Metallica. No one will ever say Nine Inch Nails, because they're not aware of that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like 80s. For me, I would place this in the mid to late 90s, honestly, around the Stabbing Westward time.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly.
That's where I would place it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, that's how far back it goes, so, which is crazy. And after that, so we already have our first gold. I think a lot of people were assuming as such. Man, I can't even imagine the hate comments if I would have put that in anything but gold, but that's where I would have put it anyway, so.
Put it in trash.
Oh my gosh, terrible lie, huh? Here's some terrible truth right in the dumpster. Oh man. It's back in gold, yeah.
We will not troll you. We feel very
no.
strongly about this album. So.
Yeah. So as time went on, like this was a crazy time for Trent Reznor. He was in and out of getting cleaned up. And this was before he finally got completely clean. Like these were all the EPs came out, like Fixed, Broken, all that stuff. And it wasn't until, if I'm correct, 1994 that we got the Downward Spiral, the next full album.
Wow, yeah. It's hard to think about.
It is, because they put out they were putting out music, they were doing stuff, but again, Trent was such in a wild state. Like band members were in flux at that time, so and that's what's going on right now. But the Downward Spiral came out, and this was Trent's full, like, we go all the way back to the song "Hurt" with the closer. That's his full admission of how much struggle he had, and that's where this was the turning point in Trent Reznor's physical life, in personal life, to try to make Nine Inch Nails and continue on and make new music. So how do you do that? You go more intense and more personal and go all out in every possible direction. And he totally did that across the board.
Yeah. I love the Downward Spiral. See, I said I like the Pretty Hate Machine more, but they're very comparable to me because of how much I connect with the songs. I listen to Reptile, and I go between like, this is both sexy and hurtful at the same time.
It's
this is like,
it's like inviting and intimidating both at the same time.
Yes.
And like these weird conflicting feelings. And when I heard, this was like my personal story from it. It wasn't until 2017 when I first saw Nine Inch Nails live for the first time, and I got to shoot them. And like hearing songs like March of the Pigs live, and you realize, oh my gosh, this is like, Trent Reznor is not just a performer or a singer or a composer. No, he is the full package. He is creating an entire universe on stage, like like making all this music with so many people, and like to a crowd that is in La La Land, in a trance, watching this. Oh my gosh, people screaming maniacally while like listening to March of the Pigs, which is like 5 or 6 songs into the set list of a 90-minute set list too. I mean, I could talk all day about Hurt, how much that means. I know people are always going to bring up how the Johnny Cash cover, and I think they're both equally as good, although obviously very different.
Yeah, both of them, because they have the same raw feeling, different execution, but I'm really getting the same feelings. I'm really connecting with both versions, I think.
I mean, like, I could be nitpicky if I wanted to, and I could say, like, oh, I don't really care for Big Man with a Gun. Okay, that's one song out of how many, and I still love the album so much. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention how Closer really did break people's brains back in 1994. Whether it was,
I remember MTV would run the video.
The music video. Have you seen the uncensored music video?
Maybe. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes, they should have censored it. They should still censor it now. Even in 2020, when so many people are desensitized to stuff, no, you should still censor it. Everything from nudity to monkeys tied to crosses and a crucifix position.
I have seen it.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I have seen it. Yeah, I have seen it.
Man, 1994 on MTV, when they were showing tons of stuff in rock and hip-hop videos, this one's too far, and everyone was like, yeah, we agree.
And I think even Trent has some reservations. I think he knows that sometimes he pushed it a little too far. He's talked about certain music videos that
for sure.
Like, why'd I do that? And, it. I think in 1994, though, everyone, especially if you had a music video on MTV, you were trying to be edgy.
Yeah,
you were trying to
You had to get that
you know?
attention. You cannot just put, in 94, especially in that mid-90s scene, you cannot just put a video out of a band playing. Not a chance.
Yeah.
You had to get wild and creative and do something different. Especially the mid-90s when the alternative scene had tons of different bands in a million different styles. And if you're Nine Inch Nails, you got to do something to stand up to that Nine Inch Nails name. And they did.
This is not the 70s. This is not like is not like Paul McCartney just on stage singing a song. You know, it's
this is
different
not,
than that.
Yeah, this is not Wings with Paul McCartney.
This is not
Wings, a chance. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, with the Downward Spiral, Nine Inch Nails became a household name.
I agree.
And this was the moment when Nine Inch Nails became the big deal that they are, and they never really lost that fame from 1994 onward, regardless of how people feel about their music after that. That solidified a lifelong fan base. Yeah.
Just the fact that I connect so much with, and don't get me wrong, I like the songs that were released as singles. I love Hurt, and I love Closer. It's one of the sexiest songs just ever created. Just the fact that that March of the Pigs and Reptile and A Warm Place is on there, that for me puts it in gold.
It's solid gold for me too. Like there's, even if I have a problem with one song on there, there's so much on there that's so good it can't be anything else but gold. So yeah, easy choice. I mean, it's, again, this was what proved to people that, okay, Nine Inch Nails were and still it's kind of chaotic, however you want to see it. We're so chaotic, but you can't deny what they're creating is so great in its chaos.
Yeah, agreed.
So as we move on, and then again, it's kind of like that whole time frame, because there were other like musical outputs for Nine Inch Nails, especially Trent working on other stuff. It wasn't until 5 years after that with 1999 and The Fragile. And
he is just always working on stuff, just all the time. Yeah, just all the time.
Oh, he still is. He's probably has like, oh my gosh, can you imagine how creative, like what he's working on in quarantine right now as we're recording this?
I hope so. I hope he's working on something awesome.
You know he is. He probably has like 5 synthesizers hooked up to computers and MacBook Pros. The wife comes in. It's like, are you still working on 5 movies and 4 albums and a TV show?
And a video game like soundtrack on top of it. Like what?
Oh yeah, video game. I'll get that after lunch. Okay.
Like I think people forget that. Like Trent, and it should be noted that Trent, I think, writes all the tracks. Like he is the writer, and then he's going off and writing. He wrote the Quake soundtrack. It's like, what? When did you do that?
Yeah, Social Networking's the score and the original soundtrack that he won an Academy Award and an Emmy for.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
Grammys, Emmys, Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Still,
and then he's been on all these interviews talking about synthesizers and like he was on like the Moog thing that happened a while. But he's just everywhere.
He's everywhere. So
he's everywhere.
Okay, I'll bring up one thing after this with the Fragile. I remember hearing my first song from Nine Inch Nails live on TV because I've heard Nine Inch Nails before at the time, but when I was in '99. And Nine Inch Nails performed on like the MTV Awards, like the Video Music Awards. And that just blew my mind because this was after like a bunch of pop acts and stuff like that. And then hearing Nine Inch Nails play, like, oh man, this is different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I just loved it. I mean, the Fragile does not have the singles power that Downward Spiral and Pretty Hate Machine had. What it has is beginning to end, that whole complete package listen through. And that's what I love about the Fragile.
Yeah, and I have some nostalgia towards it as well because Somewhat Damaged was one of the first Nine Inch Nails. I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the first ones I had heard, just in adolescence.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would put gold on this, but I will say that The Fragile as a single is gold for me. Okay. Like if I were to just say The Fragile as a single, that's gold.
Yeah.
But I think because I didn't connect with it more, like even deeper, I thought kind of let me down like a little bit. And I never connected with, like you said, the singles aren't as powerhouse.
And that's my thing
too.
Like this is a beginning to thing in, and I love We're in This Together. I just feel like that's such a scream along with Trent as he sings that. I think that's one of those great experiences. But yeah, like from beginning to end, like even though there's stuff like Into the Void and Where Is Everybody? There's so many cool moments, and it's an experience to go all the way through, and I love it. Is it gold though, really? Because when you listen to it, because this is like in my opinion, this is as high silver as you can get. Because as great as this album is, there are many moments that you don't remember until you're listening to it.
Right, and it's not, like I said, it's not as an album. I don't think I would put it at high silver.
Yeah.
Some of the songs, because I don't think The Fragile itself was actually a single.
It was not a singles album. I mean, I would have to look it up, like to see which ones are actually singles. But like,
I don't think The Fragile was, but I love that song.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
So I would say silver for that for sure.
Yeah,
easily.
And we're also comparing it to really good albums, so it's hard. Like I don't want to put.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it this way too: if somebody else would have put out The Fragile, how would we think of it then? Would people give it the same praise? Would they think it's better? Would they not give it as much attention? I don't know. But when you have it's so weird to think about this too: a 5-year break between those 3 albums each. 89, 94, 99, and The Fragile's still that good 10 years after their debut.
Yeah.
That's weird for me to think. That's a 10-year break between the debut album and The Fragile.
That is crazy. That's not how people work today.
No, not a chance. Because again, Downward Spiral sold so well, and he was able to tour and do so many crazy things, work with David Bowie, do so much wild stuff. So, yeah. But going back with The Fragile, love it to death. I can't say it's as high regarded as Pretty Hate Machine and the Downward Spiral, though, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Okay.
No, I agree. I agree. And it's hard for me to say anything but gold about Nine Inch Nails because I love them, but it's just comparing the other albums.
And that's what's fair. And it's such high silver, too, so don't think it's like, oh, I guess I'll put it silver. No, this is like almost gold level.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And then we go 6 years later, and like it's just, I know, it's so weird to see like the progression over time. This was the album in 2005 that I think ushered in a new wave of fans for Nine Inch Nails. Because when With Teeth came out in 2005 and The Hand That Feeds was played everywhere and it was being focused on in commercials and soundtracks and everything, that's when I think about it. 16 years after their debut, a whole new generation just got introduced to Nine Inch Nails in a big way. And yeah, I love With Teeth.
I love With Teeth. Yeah.
I mean,
I really like that album.
Both the singles, like you have The Hand With Feeds, which is iconic Nine Inch Nails. Again, so much later in their career. But then you have other stuff like Every Day Is Exactly the Same.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that song. I love Only. I didn't.
Yeah.
When Only came out, when that video came out, because I'm a big music video person, I love it.
Yeah.
I want to say I wasn't into it at first, but as I got older, I liked the lyrics.
Yeah, this is a grower for
I like
sure.
The melody.
Yeah. This is a grower for sure. I mean, the album ends with Right Where It Belongs, and like that's where I feel, in some way, I remember thinking this when I heard it, like Trent Reznor is finally at a place where he feels peace. He can focus on what he wants to and stay healthy and have everything in his past now just be in the past.
Right.
And like, I don't know, that always resonated with me a little bit. Like for someone that was so broken down and so successful, but still suffering and struggling, getting to that point where now he can enjoy his life and make what he wants. And it's still that high up, you know? And
like you said, like I had friends who never liked Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Or never listened to them, but when The Hand That Feeds came out, they loved it.
Right.
They loved that song. And for me, yes, it is mainstream. It's a little poppy, but it's still Trent Reznor. I really feel it.
It is, but at the same time, you could say that for a few other songs too for early Nine Inch Nails. And while this is not as industrial-esque, this is not 50 synthesizers and an entire hard drive of sound effects. No, but at the same time, this is still such a digital effect song. And like everything that sounds about it is so smooth. The rhythm is so strong; it gets inside you when you hear it. I love that.
And I think his vocal performance is super on point here. If you go back and listen to Only, like really
Only's
listen to
great,
his vocal performance, and I'm almost tempted to. I almost want to put this in gold.
I'm between silver and gold myself. Like it's like one way or another. Just because I think about like all the softer songs too. Like I talked about, Every Day Is Exactly the Same. And just like how simple of an idea that is, just like I can see the future because I repeat the same routine. Just little stuff like that. Wow, hearing that in 2020 now too, when everyone's in quarantine and isolation. Man, that just hit me. Oh my gosh, that is the banner anthem for 2020. Every day is exactly the same.
It really is.
Wow. Oh, so I'm between gold and silver. I don't see. The thing is, the singles are there. And it is a complete listening experience. Is it as memorable as something like The Downward Spiral, as Pretty Hate Machine? I don't know, as memorable, but it's so good, and the high points are so much higher. And as good as like The Fragile is, the higher points of With Teeth are higher than the highest points of The Fragile, and that's why I would lean slightly into gold.
I would lean slightly into gold just for the fact that he was able to reach so many people with this album. And when I talk, like I said, if you can get non-fans converted, you did something really right there.
And that's hard. And that's what they did. They converted the non-fans, and they looked back into the old discography of the old EPs and everything like that too.
Yeah, it's weird to say because I still love songs on The Fragile so much.
I do too. No, I totally too.
Yeah.
I stand by that too, because as great as The Fragile is, I love it. That is a beginning to end experience, and it's not about specific songs, and it's also not as strikingly memorable as the other three that we've talked about. It's just not.
Right.
And that's saying something too, because The Fragile's great.
Yeah, and With Teeth, it just brings me back right to that year. I remember what was going on that year in music, pop and kind of dancey pop. Nelly Furtado, you have your Nelly Furtados and Shakira's. It stood out. I think it stood out. And to put out an album, in that year, I'm impressed.
And that was 2005, when there's no nice way to say this, butt rock was on the verge of becoming the biggest thing. You had those bands like Theory of a Dead Man and 3 Days Grace and Nickelback, and they're just tearing it up everywhere. So,
and then we had that overlap of emo too. Like you still had your newfound glories. Like it was still there. All American Rejects. They were still putting singles in 2008. So it was still happening. So to put out this album,
and also
incredible.
And other genres were getting tons of, like, that's when pop country was starting to become a thing. Like,
Oh, Lord.
yeah, you remember that? Like what was the song?
Yeah.
Honky Tonk Badonka Donk. That was the same time frame as that, and I remember that being everywhere. Yeah. How about that for a trip? How about that for a trip down memory lane? You want to remember With Teeth, or you want to remember Honky Tonk Badonka Donk? Oh. One has aged greatly, the other has not. Take a guess.
No.
Yeah.
The other one is sitting in a pile of dust.
Oh,
buried.
It's in the back of that Dollar Tree dollar CD back, like in the very bottom that no one's touched for years.
Yeah,
so.
No one's touching that. There's fingerprints on it. You can see them. It's bad.
It's not even sealed or with a barcode on there. Someone just dumped it in, someone just dumped it in there and said, someone else will take it. Oh, so awful. So then, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor picks things up a bit. Somehow, there's no more 5-year gaps between albums. He's focused. He's ready to go. And now when you look at it, it's like discography and projection in his work now is like, yeah, he hasn't settled down for the last 15 years. So in 2007 came Year Zero. Like a bit of a concept album, and boy, oh boy, this was something different compared to everything else that had come before it.
Yeah. I don't know where I was in 2007 because I missed this album completely. I don't know what happened. I did listen to it. And for me, it's very industrial. It's very noisy.
Yeah,
you know
and coming
I mean?
after With Teeth, it's very much more gritty and angry. So
yeah,
I like it. I like it quite a bit. Do I put it on the same level as Pretty Hate Machine and Downward Spiral? No, I don't.
No, I don't.
I would.
No.
Yeah, and the same thing, at the same time, it's still solid. The thing is, though, it's kind of the problem with The Fragile. Did it have that singles or very memorable moments on there? Not as much as the other albums. And like, I'm
definitely not. Yeah, definitely not.
Like, I'm trying to think right now because Year Zero, like, is another listening experience that's really fun to listen to, especially when you know what it's about, everything that's going on with the whole aim of how the future is going to end up miserable if this is how things keep going and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember hearing songs like Survivalism, and
I liked Survivalism.
The Good Soldier, and it's fun. What was the other one? Oh, The Greater Good, and I remember that too. Yeah. And like, these are fun things, like fun moments with it, like when you really react with it. I can't say this is one I've come back to over time very frequently at all, and that's
no.
I would come back to The Fragile before I came back to Year Zero.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would come back to The Fragile. With Teeth, absolutely. I would not come back to this one, just because it's not memorable to me. You know, when I feel like when people think about Nine Inch Nails, everybody has a certain thing they come back to.
Absolutely.
But this is not one of them for me, at least.
Yeah, and this is like, again, like this was, I don't want to say he was trying to go back to his roots of the Pretty Hate Machine, gritty, angry, industrial. This was something totally different. Like, this was more of a concept and a project. He wanted to make something different, and he succeeded with that. And I think that is totally worth it. I feel this kind of belongs in the Bronze era.
That's where I would put it.
Yeah. Because, again, it's not bad. This is fine. It's just not nearly as memorable as some of the other stuff. And you take away, like, if you don't know the story behind everything, you just hear the music for what it is. It's just, a lot of it's just kind of there. It's good, but it's not as memorable as everything else.
Right.
So.
And you can't expect people to know the story or the evolution.
You can't expect everyone to do homework before they listen to your song.
Yeah, it has to be kind of good out of the bat. And I know that's not fair to some people, but, if you're going to hook people, that's how you do it. There's got to be, So it's not trash, and I don't think it's even aluminum. So
no,
I think bronze is fair.
Yeah, it's not aluminum either because it's still solid to listen to. I would never turn it off if it came on.
Exactly. That's actually a good bar.
Also, another thing, I'm never bored when I'm listening to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, I could be bored by an album and still not think it's trash. It's just like, it's just there. It's just music. It doesn't mean it's bad. So
right.
So then the next year, 2008, was a ginormous year for Nine Inch Nails output. Man, they caught up in time for all that years they didn't have a full album come out. So first in 2008 was Ghosts 1 through 4. Right. Instrumental everything. I loved this when I first came out. I was blown away. I thought like this.
Same.
This is not Trent Reznor proving he is so much more than just making some like a shocking song or angry and like anger. No, this man has so much more going for him in his brain and his writing creativity. Going through tracks would be worthless to say, like with individual tracks in Ghost 1 through 4, it's so great. I love it to death. So,
and I'm a person that I love lyrics, but when it comes to Nine Inch Nails, I love all of their instrumental stuff.
Yeah.
I just always have. They hook it for me. It's very ambient. It's very brooding.
Right.
Always. So I like it too, and I that says a lot because I'm not a person that I'm a lyric person. You know.
I am too, but I love good post rock. There's some great post rock out there that has no lyrics that really work. You have to be great to make it work, and I think they do here. And I get the complaint. It's Ghost 1 through 4 albums, and it's just nonstop. I get that. Would it have been better if they narrowed it down a smidge? Probably. I think more people.
Trent Reznor knows how to do that.
I know. What do you mean? He's working on Ghost. He's working on Ghost. What is he on? 5 through 6. He's working on Ghost through 7 through 20 right now in quarantine. We're gonna get the biggest cavalcade of music from Trent Reznor out of quarantine with a big, huge beard coming out of his basement, ready to go. So I love this. Is it perfect? I can't say that. Is it the most exciting, invigorating thing ever? No. Is it amazing? Yes. And I would stand by that too. For me, this is silver material.
For me, it's silver.
Okay, good.
I think invigorating is a good word to use for Nine Inch Nails. I do feel invigorated by a lot of their stuff, and that is what that album's missing. But again, it is instrumental. It is a little different.
It is, and I get that Ghost 1 4 is not meant to. It's not supposed to be an adrenaline shot. It's not.
Right.
And that's fine too. But still, for what it does and what it serves, it's still fantastic.
Yeah, it's like ethereal almost. You can't even. Yeah. When Trent does instrumental stuff, it's very otherworldly to me, which I think is impressive because, like I said, I'm a lyric person, but when Trent does it, I'm into it. You know.
You have to be really good to keep attention and engaging to the listener when you know off the bat there's not going to be any lyrics, and he's able to do that. Also, in 2008. Was a surprise, and many people don't remember this, because Ghost had just come out. The Slip came out in 2008 as a surprise album after Ghost 1 through 4. Is it Ghost 1 through 4? Yeah, it's Ghost 1 through 4. I always get the Roman numeral. I always get the Roman numerals twisted up because 5 and 6 are out now. So the Slip came out, and it was in a unique way because you could download it all completely online from Nine Inch Nails website without paying for it.
Right. Oh man, I'm getting memories now.
That was a big deal back then. For Nine Inch Nails, a band like that, just go, here you go. Come on and get it.
I'm going to say this. I kind of missed Year Zero, but I do have vague memories of the album cover. I have vague memories of people talking about that album.
Yeah.
But this,
the Slip,
almost none. None.
And this is where I have to be. This is where I have to be the bad guy. I do have memories of this. I remember getting the Slip and downloading it and putting it on my laptop and then forgetting everything I heard almost after.
Oh no!
And going back to Ghosts and going back to other stuff. Is it trash? No. But the Slip really leaves very little impression on me back in the day and even now. Because the last couple of weeks, in preparation for this, I listened to every album 1 through 1 just throughout the day, just doing different stuff. And even now, just the nostalgia was not even that strong for remembering that much or caring that much. It's just, I can't even really describe what it is about the Slip that doesn't connect with me. But man, the high points, because we talked about the high points in certain albums, the high points in the Slip do not stand out. And that's what kind of hurts for me. And if you're
it's not memorable at all. Yeah. It's just not even a little. Like I said, I have seen the album for Year Zero, whether I remember it in the time or not. I remember it. I've seen that cover, and I had friends who talked about it at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what was happening in 2008. But I don't know what was going on there.
The late 2000s, Barack Obama being president, Nine Inch Nails released 2 albums. What a year.
I mean, I haven't heard of this, it's hard for me to judge it, but just based on the fact that I have no recollection of it, and no one talks about it.
It is not trash. It is not trash by any measure. It's not offensively bad. It's aluminum. because again, this is to the point where it's not so much boring. It's just more like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. There's better there's better music from Nine Inch Nails I could be listening to.
No, I understand completely. I trust that judgment there.
Yeah, so I say aluminum on that. Okay. So then we jump forward because, again, Trent was working on so many other things in that time frame. He was working on movie soundtracks. Him and his wife were making actual projects and stuff, like How to Destroy Angels, and working on that on the other side, outside of Nine Inch Nails. So there was other stuff going on. What comes next is in 2013 with Hesitation Marks. This was, I remember back in 2013, because I remember reviewing this album for like this was when I first started doing like written album reviews and like just started to do that on my own, like for a multi-genre music site. I remember this being very polarizing. I think that's fair to say.
I love it. I don't know if people agree with me or not, but I loved when they came back with Hesitation Marks. I have listened to Came Back Haunted
that is the best song. Times. That is the best song on the album by a long shot.
Yes.
By a long shot. I don't know if I don't love the album. This is a very front-loaded album. The first like 4 or 5 songs are what you come for, and the rest
it's not memorable as an album, which is unfortunate.
That's a good way to put it.
I think the singles definitely Came Back Haunted. I also liked Copy of and I liked everything.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if I were to rate it as an album, it wouldn't be the same as rating the singles. I rate Came Back Haunted as gold.
Oh, sure,
as an album, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So like again, it's not terrible. I don't even think it's definitely not trash. That's not what we're going for. But this is from an album standard, this is far from gold. That's my thing. And I liked Hesitation Marks back in the day, and I still think it's fine. I just can't say gold, not a chance. I'm having trouble really placing where I would put it because, again, like when you have, I want to say the Eater of Dreams and then Came Back Haunted were the ones that I listened to because like they were right back to back on the album track, right? I think they were.
Eater of Dreams is the first one.
That's right. And then Copy of It then Came Back Haunted. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I remember just the beginning of the album being such a strong force and then it just kind of just levels out. I don't know.
As an album, I would put it probably in bronze.
Because I think that's fair. It's not I put it above The Slip. To be honest.
Yeah.
And I know and I know other people I just remember it being very polarizing because so many other people were like against what this was, and I was thinking it's not bad, it's better than some of the other stuff, and there are memorable moments on here.
Yeah. So, and when you talk about The Slip, there's like none. Like I can't even tell you a song. It's so weird because like I think 2008 I remember being blown away by Ghosts, and then The Slip, The Slip was a few months after that. Yeah. Maybe, you think maybe it was he was pumping out so much output that some things were suffering because it happens with creatives. You pump out much output. Yeah, because again he was making up for lost time apparently. But I do think if Year Zero would have came out like sometime in like before With Teeth, or something like that, or like they were more condensed and Year Zero was more in line in like separate spaces, would it have been seen the same way? I think so, because Year Zero would have done that. Like it's not as high as Pretty Hate Machine and Downward Spiral or With Teeth even. And I love With Teeth. Those are gold albums. And we have The Fragile, which is just the highest silver. Year Zero doesn't really hold up to that, and neither does Hesitation Marks. And that's what I'm getting with Hesitation Marks. It definitely doesn't. Yeah. Not bad, but I still put it over The Slip. Because, again, I remember stuff about Hesitation Marks without having to go back and look stuff up. Yeah, exactly. That's a bummer. That's why I'm like, well, it has to be above The Slip. It has to. Yeah. And I get it. If they're diehard fans of The Slip, that's fine. Please explain what you love about it, because that's just the one. Don't think we're ragging on this. We love Nine Inch Nails. It's just, when we're really ranking these out, like, some of this stuff does not match each other in all terms of quality. There's no way everything's going to be gold. And the Slip's not gold. And even Hesitation Marks, it's not gold. It's just not. So, yeah. If we were ranking like singles, this might be even entirely different conversation. Yeah. But when you're looking at the albums as a whole. Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Even though I love them. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. I love them. Yeah. But it's still not a gold or a silver album. And that's fair to say. You can love specific songs on an album and understand that the whole album is not a masterpiece. Right, exactly.
So, yeah. So we have two left, and this is where the waters get a little murky in 2017 and 2018, because in those years came the Bad Witch trilogy, which is what it's known as now. However, since Bad Witch was so long in length, and the label said this should really be an album, and Trent and Atticus and Nine Inch Nails said, yeah, it's not that many songs, but the length is so big, it's going to be considered a full album. So Bad Witch. And this is
weird.
It is weird. And this is where Trent Reznor openly admitted his love for saxophone and refused to stop playing it. He was going to bed with that thing, taking it into the shower, never leave. Like, you know how Linus has the security blanket? Yeah, Trent Reznor has a saxophone.
Oh, Trent and his saxophone. That's very cute.
Exactly.
Very cute.
And like, again, it's so weird to like really balance this out, because when you listen to the first two EPs of that trilogy, they're not that great. They're along the lines of the Slip. But when you have that final album, Bad Witch, it's pretty good. And it's like, do you average them together? Do you take Bad Witch as a single entity? I don't know. Because, man, he just went bonkers with that whole project. And he ended it with the best one, by far. With that is, in my opinion, the best one of those three EPs. And because Bad Witch is technically a full album, I have no idea where I would put it, though. Because, again,
I don't either.
It's
like, I have positive feelings towards it. They're
I do
generally
too.
more positive. Yeah,
I absolutely do too. It's not trash. It's not. I can't even say it's really aluminum, because it is interesting. It's so many weird, long, almost jazz-like sequences where it's distortion and saxophone and drums, and it's just endless for minutes on end. Oh man.
I remember one of my good friends who's also a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. We listened to God Break Down the Door.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is different.
Yeah.
Like, this feels different.
And that was the big song for
That
was the big song too, and understandable so, because that is a fun one to hear. And when you think about it, it's like, wow, Trent Reznor just will never be satisfied with just making Closer Part 2 or The Hand That Feeds Part 2. No, as many other bands are, he would never do that. So, and that's proof.
He's so cute. Oh, Trent, you're cute.
With his little sax carrying it around.
Little sax. Well, so I've watched a lot of interviews with Trent, and he's so calm and just very respectful, very good person. So I could just see him defending his saxophone, like in this very technical way of speaking.
I spent years doing this. It belongs in rock and roll. This is a part of my industrial now. He has hugging
for me, it's probably bronze.
I think that's very fair to put it in bronze, because I think it does have memorable moments. You totally remember listening to it. It is the best of those three. Like, if this was averaged out, if that whole Bad Witch trilogy was like a 15-track album, I would put it lower, because the first two are not good. Or like, it's along the lines of the Slip, maybe even lower than the Slip. But Bad Witch, the album, that final one, is solid. It's fine. So I think bronze is very fair.
I think it's fair. Yeah. Because, generally positive feelings about it. So that's what I'm kind of based. Like, what did I feel when I first... it was generally positive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For sure. And also, it caught your interest right away.
It did. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then finally, this year, in the midst of quarantines and not knowing if we ever get live music back, we got Ghost 5 and 6.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember hearing Ghost 5 and going, wow, this is like the most calming, beautifully unnerving music. Is that a good way to say it? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's very appropriate for right now. I don't know how you feel about it.
As I look out the window as it's starting to rain on day 500 of quarantine, yes, I would say Ghost 5 and 6 are very appropriate soundtracks for the year.
Yeah, and I mean, Trent is very, he's very smart. He is a very intelligent person. And I feel like he knows when to put stuff out and when things are appropriate. Like, I really do. I feel like he puts so much thought into his art. That's what I would say. He's an artist.
He does not rush any project, even though like that time frame when he was putting more and more stuff out, nothing ever felt rushed.
Right.
Like, you could never see him say, I'll just make this one filler track, we'll get it on there, we'll figure it out later, we'll never play it live, who cares? Maybe someone will like it.
Right.
You'll never get that from Trent Reznor. And for something like Ghost 5 and 6, that's exactly what he needed to put out at this time. After the Bad Witch trilogy, after Hesitation Marks 7 years later, or 7 years earlier, this is the perfect thing he could have done.
Yeah,
for a
I
year
agree.
like this. So
I agree.
I mean, this is between bronze and silver for me.
It is for me too, and I don't know.
Do I love it as much as 1 through 4? No.
I don't. Yeah.
Do I? I think 5 is better than 6. Also, in my opinion,
I would. Is there a way we can put it between silver?
There's
and
really not, because when they hand out medals at the Olympics, they don't just break them in half. And
Why?
I know. It's just not fair.
It's bronze and a half.
Bronze.
Put it at the last. It's like the third in the silver. Like, I think that. You know what I mean? Like, it's the very
like
last.
that. I get what you're saying. Yeah, in order. So yeah, if these because to be fair, yes, I do see them, because I do. The moments that shine, especially on 5, I would say it bumps it up just barely into silver. And what
Plus, I think it's above year 0. So
I do
that's
too.
my parameter.
Yeah. And I think it's also above Bad Witch and Hesitation Marks, because I have gone back to 5 and 6 already a few times this year.
Yeah.
So I think that's very fair.
And I never go back to year 0, not really. So
I don't.
I think
it's not to say it's bad, but it's just like there's other things I would rather listen to, even though it is impressive. It is a solid record. Have I gone back to the slip? I don't know. Maybe.
If you can't even remember, I
didn't. No, I did. I absolutely did.
Great.
Like prepping for this video. That's when I did. And that's it. That's it in like a decade. Yeah. So no. But I stand by, the gold albums are undeniable classics. The Fragile, just being the heaviest, highest silver possible, and then having the Ghost albums and the filling out silver, I think that's very fair.
I do too. And I don't think I'd put anything Trent has ever done into trash.
I wouldn't either.
And there are bands that I would be like, this is trash.
I'm sure on future tier list videos with whoever I'm with, there are going to be bands that have trash albums. It's undeniable. It's just, I'm sure it's going to happen. However, there's one thing I do want to wrap up with before we start plugging our stuff. One of my favorite Roses moments was when we were having a discussion talking about Trent Reznor, and I informed Roses of Trent Reznor's age and marital status. And Roses got very upset, and I figured, oh no, did I just ruin Rose's whole week by informing?
My life is over.
Trent Reznor is a married man and has 3 children with a 4th on the way.
Wait, what? A 4th on the way? Fuck!
That's right, Roses.
If the marriage was...
I just did it again! Great!
But if there's another kid, I can't,
Another? There was already 3!
He can just give those kids back.
To be fair, I think they're not all infants, so I guess they're old enough to understand. However, he's been with Mary Queen for quite a while. Quite a while, Roses.
I want to say that I would deal with the age because he's so cute.
Do you know how old he is?
He's in his 50s, I want to say.
Can you see that on screen? 55. No. 55 years old.
I would deal with it. I think he looks good.
He looks great he's taken care ever since he cleaned up. He's taken care of himself. He's gotten into bodybuilding more throughout the years and stuff like that. I'll say this too. For a brief while, I think for at least an album or 2 album cycle, one of the guitarists, not the lead or anything, was LDS. And he was giving Trent health advice. Trent Reznor for a while wasn't even doing caffeine, like coffee or soda or anything. That's how clean he was.
I like a man that takes care of his body. I like that black hair. I like the angry look that sometimes he has.
I'm gonna. Do you know that picture I took of Trent Reznor?
I love that picture.
Okay, when I got the eye contact, I'm gonna send you that picture. But I'm also gonna put it on there also. Married with 4 children.
Oh no, it's so upsetting.
As a hard reminder. That was one of my favorite moments. I'm sorry. We love the man. But however, I don't think he's going to have any changes in his personal life anytime soon.
Damn it.
I know. I'm sure I made a lot of other fans in that way upset too. The truth's out. This isn't a secret, you know.
It's not. It's not. I'm just trying to repress it.
Yeah. I don't think that's that's not gonna help you out. So if you repress it,
he's my goth, brooding, angry special boy. I just adore him.
Your special 55-year-old boy.
You know. You know? Trent, if you're listening, if you need some like art, I got you.
It's true. I will point this out. She just painted my guitar, and I'll put pictures of it on here and link the video. This is her painting and artwork. Roses did this for my guitar. How amazing this looks. And I'll have this edited. I'll put pictures on the video. Check that out.
Nice.
You can check out the video of how she did it too. I'll link to that. So yeah, Trent Reznor, if for some reason Hell Freeze is over and you do stumble across this video and hear this, Roses really is the person to contact for creative, wild designs that look amazing on guitars. I'm pretty sure she would cut you a deal.
I would do it for free. Or if you want to work out like a sexual deal.
Oh my gosh, Roses! How much will it cost?
Luke's gonna have to censor me.
So how much will it cost to like outfit like the paint, do the spiral and pour paint for 4 guitars, 1 bass, and 1 key synth car? Well, how big is your California king size bed? Oh.
No, I would I'd do that for free and just be like, take my artwork. Just
please,
take it.
please. I'll make as many guitars as you want, Mr. Reznor, please. So,
oh man.
That being said, Roses, you have a great channel. You can check it out on this right corner and the YouTube cards. Roses, is there anything upcoming that you would like to plug or talk about for your channel?
Well, like you said, I do have art videos, and I'm going to be doing a couple more music-related things. I'm also going to be painting some Guitar Hero controllers,
nice.
Some older ones.
That's
see how
smart.
those look.
Yeah,
I think those will look solid.
Mm-hmm.
On my main channel, which is just Pushing Up Roses, we've got another Murder She Wrote episode coming up. It's going to be funny and nostalgic.
Murder She Wrote was a lot more bonkers than I would have known, and it's you the one that pointed that out to me. Man, my grandma's favorite show was wild.
That was my grandma's favorite show,
Yeah.
and every time it came on, she's like, "I don't know if I've seen this one," and we're all like, "Grandma, you've
come
seen
on now."
all of them. They're like all recorded."
Yeah, and it was in her library of VHSs, all categorized.
Yeah, she's like, "I don't know. I haven't seen this."
I
one.
need it.
Like,
Let me tape this one just in case. Let me tape this one just in case
yeah,
too.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. Like, okay.
So for everyone watching, if you have any comments of where you would put the gold tier albums, what do you think are the gold tier Nine Inch Nails albums? That's what I want to hear from you guys. Leave that in the comments below. Also, let me know who as a guest you would like to see for these tier lists and which band. I have ideas. I have guest ideas. I'm always open to these though for like what you have to say. Roses, I'm sure I would love to have you back sometime in the future, after like just in a few months or so, like just after I cycle a few people out, because I'm sure we're gonna have the discussion about The Cure someday. So it's gonna have to happen. It's gonna have to happen one way or another. Again, I don't.
Depeche Mode, honestly.
Depeche Mode would be a fun. Depeche Mode would also be a great one to go do the deep dive through. Yeah, and again,
let's do the Monkees. Let's do the Monkees.
Man, I don't even know where I would begin on something like that.
It'll just be me. Like, it'll be your podcast, but I'll just be the.
I just have my feet up on the desk. All right, Roses, go ahead.
2 hours later.
I'm just laying here on my phone, like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure is a monkey.
Davy Jones. All right. Yep.
That's that tour bus, huh? Yeah. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barenfeld, Chris Doman, McKenna White, and Dom Smith. You can support the channel and get perks like having a vote in upcoming videos and seeing them early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Just $2 a month goes a long way. Please click on the link in the video description for more info. Please subscribe to stay notified on upcoming videos. You can check out my cons photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.